Hey everybody, my name is Andrew. I'm a 22-year-old non-binary trans masculine person, and it has been so long since I've made a video. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about my non-binary identity, how I figured it out, how you can figure out your identity if you're struggling with it, and share a little bit about my life. Figuring out I was transgender was really difficult to begin with. I come from a very conservative town with people I grew up with, and it's so small, you can't really avoid people you know. So I spent a really long time being misgendered and having to kind of like explain my identity all the time and having to correct people constantly, and it really weighed on me. It was really difficult, and that was one of the biggest reasons why it took me so long to figure out that I was non-binary. I identify as trans-masculine, I guess, would be the closest, but overall I feel pretty genderless a lot of the time. I don't feel like my expressions are completely masculine. I don't feel like my presentation is entirely masculine, and I don't really feel like being read as entirely masculine all the time. I have really come into my identity since my move because I'm in such a safe and accepting and wonderful environment with my partner and with our family. And I think that has ultimately been what's given me the space to figure out who I am and to express myself more naturally and authentically. Since coming out, I've had a lot of people say to me, you know, hey, you say you're non-binary, but you aren't feminine in the slightest, or you dress entirely masculine, or you do these things. Non-binary is not necessarily a, like, it's not a scale of masculine and feminine. It's not like you wear a dress one day and then you wear a suit the next day. That's not really what it is. Being non-binary is, it's an identity. It's a way of being. It's a way of feeling. Like, when I do things, I'm not doing them to express masculinity a lot of the time. I'm not doing them because I'm trying to say, like, this is my expression as a man. No, I'm doing them, I'm saying, like, this is my expression as a human being, and that's the most authentic and honest way that I can describe it. I don't dress the way I do to look masculine, to present masculine, for people to read me as masculine. I dress the way I do because it's the most comfortable way of dressing for me. I don't grow facial hair or shave my head or do any of those things because I'm trying to be like, oh, a macho man Andrew. I am doing those things because it's how I feel comfortable and it's how I feel okay in my body. And having others recognize my non-binary identity and not attribute everything I do to masculinity has been super rewarding and has been making me feel just so much more comfortable every day. And that's with my friends, with my family, with my team, with everyone that I interact with. It's nice to not always have them say bro, dude, man, or attribute a bunch of masculine things to me all the time. In a lot of ways, being non-binary is difficult for me because when I find people that look like me, often they don't identify the way that I do, and they don't use the same language that I do. So I'll find people maybe who have really fantastic beards, and I love it. And I go to their page, maybe their Instagram, maybe their Tumblr, maybe whatever it is, their YouTube, and it's always like, hey bros, what's up men? So guys, and I'm like, oh, not exactly me. So that's kind of difficult, and I don't really see a lot of non-binary people who, who just look like me. I think that's true for a lot of non-binary people, though, is that it's hard to find others who look like us and who identify like us and who use language that's comfortable for us. Coming from a place where I was constantly misgendered is definitely why I was so hyper-focused on identifying as a man and identifying masculinely. I kind of had to overcompensate to combat the dysphoria that I experienced being misgendered so often. I was in a couple of different settings where I was, nearly 2 years on testosterone, nearly a year post-op, top surgery, and I was still being forced into women's locker rooms and into women's showers and things like that, which made me very uncomfortable. And people were using she, her pronouns for me, which that still does not honor my experience or my identity at all. And so I kind of went into this mode of like, I'm the dude, I'm the guy, I do tough things and I work out and I do pull-ups and I'm growing facial hair. And so I kind of got stuck in that mindset because it was so damaging and painful to be misgendered so often. And that definitely prevented me from figuring out who I was and being ultimately as comfortable as I am now for a long time. When you're discovering your identity, the most important thing to remember, whether you're figuring out you're transgender, or you're non-binary, or you're experiencing gender fluidity and your identity is constantly changing, growing, or different day to day, it's important to remember that your expressions don't change who you are. So if you feel like certain words, phrases, or labels, like if they aren't your labels or your words or your phrases, you don't have to change the way you act, change the way you dress, change the way you present yourself in order to don a new label. You don't have to suddenly wear makeup or suddenly wear snapbacks or do anything that are, normalized as masculine or feminine behaviors in order to prove that you're a non-binary person. You're non-binary based on your existence, and gender is a personal experience, and you're the only person who can narrate your personal experience with gender. And also, honestly, gender is just weird. We live in this social structure right now that tells us that gender is X or gender is Y, and that's it. But that's not really how gender is. That's just a normalized idea of what gender is. And so many people rely on body parts or on very specific forms of appearance and expressions to try to force a gender idea or gender role onto somebody else. And that's just not what gender is. Having gender, not having a gender, that's all personal experience, and that's all something that you do on your own time and in your own time. And if other people don't get it, like, a lot of times it does suck, and it can be, kind of scary to think about it, but you're allowed to have your own experience with gender, and you're allowed to change your labels, and you're allowed to not have to explain yourself all the time. You're allowed to just be who you are and expect the accommodations you deserve. My biggest piece of advice to anybody struggling with their gender identity, whether you identify as cis now and you think you might be transgender, or if you identify as transgender and binary but feel you might be non-binary, is to really try to find some safety, some safe place, whether with friends or even on your own if you prefer it that way, to think about yourself. A lot of the time when we're thinking about our gender identities, we're thinking about our gender identities in relation to the rest of the world. So we're thinking, and I know I'm at fault for this too. When I began my journey, I was thinking, what are my parents going to say? Or what is my mom going to say? What is my grandma going to say? What's my little sister and little brother going to say? What's my partner going to say? What are they going to think of me? Are they going to think these negative things? And I was also thinking about stereotypes and thinking, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable with surgery. I don't know. So I really got myself worked up into thinking there were all these expectations for me. And when it comes down to it, there aren't. I mean, there absolutely are, it does exist, but when it comes down to figuring out who you are, you really need to find some time to sit down and say, okay, what makes me feel comfortable right now? And what makes me feel uncomfortable? And what are things that I could experiment with to feel more comfortable? Because a lot of time when you're figuring out your identity stuff, you just have, you'll have dysphoria, you have discomfort, or a lot of things don't make sense. And you really need to start defining things that you can do and try to start alleviating those feelings. And that means, having friends around that you can trust to talk to, having people you can share yourself with, ensuring that your partners understand your boundaries and respect your navigation as you go through this gender identity crisis, as it usually is. It's so important through this process to be your own best friend and to be your biggest supporter, to say, hey, self, I know this is confusing, and I know this is scary, and I know there's a lot going on right now, and we haven't figured any of it out yet, but we are gonna. And when we do, it's gonna feel really great. And maybe we'll keep changing, and maybe we'll find a spot we feel comfortable sitting in for a while, but it's okay for us to have this process. You don't have to know everything right away, and it would be kind of wild if you did, because most people don't know everything right away, even if they say they do. It's okay to be confused, and it's okay to take your time. Discovering your gender could take years. It could take an entire lifetime, and that's entirely okay. While we're here on this planet, and we have a lot of things that we do day to day, but I think one of the biggest things about our existence is kind of learning about ourselves and honoring who we are in as many ways as we possibly can as we go through life. And this is just one of the ways that we can do that. And it's definitely scary because there's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of social stigma, and it's hard to navigate in a place that doesn't really recognize who you are. But that's changing, and that's going to continue to change, and we'll all continue to grow as a species and as human beings, and that's really, really cool. And you deserve to have this, you deserve to know yourself, and you deserve to express yourself in the ways that feels like the most honest to you. Yeah. Anyways, I hope that made sense. I hope that provides a little bit of clarity, or at least comfort in knowing that it's okay to be where you are right now, because, all we have is right now, right? Yeah. thanks so much for watching. Also, quick shout out to Sad Boy Apparel. This shirt is awesome. It says "Sad Boy, I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you." The creator of it, Tyler, he is working on getting top surgery, and he has to sell, I think it was 450 of these, and he's already sold quite a few, and that's pretty awesome. So I'll leave a link for his shop down below if you want to check it out. Also, the hat is the BTLM hat from Ways to Raise. We are fundraising right now for our Support Chase campaign. We have a whole line of gear. There will also be a link for that down there. And then all my other social media links, and yeah, I'm really hoping to get more into video making. I'm hoping to continue pursuing this, to get better at it, hopefully at some point, and some day and age. And to create a lot of content that feels honest to me and hopefully resonates with some of you out there. Yeah. Anyways, hope you have an awesome day. Thanks so much for watching, subscribing, liking, being involved in my journey for so long, and being patient with me as I kind of learn to use a camera. Alright, have an awesome day.